And as citizens, there are many of us that do believe the fix is in here in Niagara County. I'm going to introduce Dave Mangello, and he's going to give you a brief overview on how the fix is in. Dave?
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Pretty good, Dave.
Thanks for having me on your show here.
We're going to talk about the most important thing that you brought to most people in Niagara County. You've been holding seminars, but like I said, I think the people now that they will take an interest when they see what's going on with the presidential elections on how it's actually boils down to where the voters, they don't have any choice. It's the party leaders that can tell you exactly who's going to run. You could be the best candidate in the world. You could have the best qualifications, but yet you have people that are not even aware of what their job duties are.
We see what the problem is, but then very few people even get involved in trying to show other people how to fix it, where the problem is. And some people I notice too, it doesn't really even faze them. It's sad that something has to personally affect somebody before they get motivated and active in the whole process. But meeting you ladies was like, oh, thank God, it's not only me, So as I started going on and then teaching the committee man process, which was, I think, 2009 when I got involved with that was quite enlightening because we found something that hit on that I never even knew. And I think, did you ladies even know?
No. In fact, most of us in our group never even gave it a thought until you brought it to our attention. Actually, Dave, I think that should be taught in government in the schools, really, to familiarize your students. I mean, today, it just seems as if you ask students questions about government and they don't have the remotest idea about it.
Exactly. Why is it, we're all taught elections and found some basic founding father stuff, but we're really not taught how to run for office.
Exactly. And that's very difficult because if you take a look at the paper, you've got some people that are really good candidates and they've been kicked off the ballot. Hey, I'm going to give you an example. I was helping you one time when you were putting in your letters to the chairman of the various parties. Incidentally, in Niagara County, it does appear that once you get the Republican endorsement, the conservative and the independents will automatically follow that. I don't know why, but you judge for yourself. Like I said, we're average citizens and we've noticed this. Regarding the certified mail, the way I understand this is that James Hoover, that is the Republican chairman, he did sign that he was in receipt of Mr. Mangello's letter, but he was never called in for an interview. And Susan Ebering, who is the Independence chairman, signed the letter, and she also called him in for an actual interview, which Dave had told me that he believed it was more cursory. But Daniel Weiss, who never even acknowledged the letter, and I showed you the proof that the letter was sent, certified, and it was return receipt requested on there. And Mr. Weiss, out of all three of them, failed to even sign the letter. So it makes me wonder that if the average citizen who is a conservative wants to run for office, even has a chance, in view of the fact that since the letters weren't even opened, that he had endorsed a Republican from the town of Lockport, that being Richard Updegrove at the time, from Dave's district. Dave, you want to add to that?
The Trump delegates, for example, people are paying attention. They're seeing that in Colorado, for example, all the delegates were given to Cruz.
And also they're seeing Hillary Clinton with the superdelegate.
The Republicans are telling the Colorado voters that they don't know enough to who to vote for. So the delegates decide who they want. Well, this is how they fix the ballots before you vote. So it's a really important part of what even goes on in the county elections. So the supervisors, town board positions, that controlling these delegates, the committeemen endorsements, controls who wins the election. So it's the main grassroots of it. And people can easily take it back and take their government back and eliminate a lot of corruption. You know, if we can't fix government locally, how do we expect to fix it through the presidential races?
Dave, you have some petitions on your computer. Bring up a couple of the petitions to show the people, for an example, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so what I'll show you here is this Susan Eberwein. She was the committee, or the
Chairman?
independent chairwoman of the Independence Party. And so you understand what they have done is they've basically, the Republicans have infiltrated the conservative and independent parties to control the endorsements. So they take elected officials, family members, and friends, switch them to conservative and independent parties. They put them as precinct captains, as the committee members, people that represent the other people in the parties, unbeknownst to the people in the party, and they insert them into the committees so they control the endorsements. So when you hear these are the independent conservative party endorsements, it doesn't come from the people, it's come from the Republican politicians. So I'm going to show you here the politicians, the petition here, the independence petition for Susan Eberwein. You can see at the list here. And if we scroll to the bottom, you can actually see who circulated her petition. It wasn't even her. It was Robert Cliff, the Republican supervisor of the town of Wheatfield, who is a Republican. And if you notice in the corner of the petition, you can actually see he used what they call his notary of public. Because when you're of that party, you can't circulate petitions of any other party unless you're a notary or what they call a commissioner of deeds.
Explain a commissioner of deeds, because most people have never even heard of it.
So, yeah, the commissioner of deeds
How do you
position,
get to be one?
Yeah, the commissioner of deeds position is really interesting. But let's go back to this process. So I went for the interview, and she went through this whole process. So I found that everybody in that meeting, there was 4 there, none of them really circulated their own petition to be committee people. And I questioned her. I says, if you're there to represent the will of the people that are in the party, why couldn't you circulate your own petition? All you had to do was get 6 signatures she received. And she got really upset with me because obviously my opponent, which was Rick Updegrove, but once we turned our petitions in, Rick Updegrove dropped out, and then Collins, Republican, wanted to run. They never even interviewed Collins, and they gave the endorsement right to him.
And he was a Republican, correct?
Yes.
And her being the independent chairman, correct?
Yes.
So it's very similar to what happened when you because you never even got an answer from the conservative chairman when you were an actual conservative. In fact, I remember you had even enclosed your platform on your conservative views.
Yeah, what happens is when you want to run for office, you send letters to the party chairs so they can interview you and decide for their people they're supposedly represent who gets the endorsement. But obviously Dan Weiss, who I was a conservative, they never brought me in for an interview. He said he never got the letter. It was actually sent to his house, so they refused to take it.
Yeah, because we notified the post office, and they had begun delivering it on the 27th, and they tried several times, and it was sent back where he didn't ever sign for the letter. But anyways, that's one of the things when we talk about the fixes in.
Commissioner Deed's position was something I really never knew existed, and like I said, if you're a member of one party, you can only circulate that petition in that party. So if you're Republican, you only circulate a Republican petition to get on in the election. If you're Democrat, you got to be a Democrat. But if you want to circulate other petitions, you have to become a notary, a public, and pass a test. Or we found this position in the city. It's called the Commissioner of Deeds position.
And who gets this? How do you get it?
So it's appointed position through the mayor of the cities.
Oh, okay.
So we found the petitions in some of the independent petitions we have here that people like the town supervisor Mark Crocker is circulating petitions in the Green Party, Independent Party, Conservative Party, yet he's a Republican.
And he's a commissioner of deeds.
Exactly. So Ann McCaffrey,
I understand that.
Ann McCaffrey, the mayor of the city of Lockport, she's using a government position for her benefit to manipulate the ballots.
So you believe that there's a conflict of interest
Well,
there?
it's morally and ethically wrong because the Commissioner of D's positions were primarily set aside to do legal signing for the cities and across the county for other situations. I think you had a list of people on the Commissioner's Deeds there. Don't you?
Let's see. There's Wendy Robeson, Pat Nodine, Ken Lederhouse, Gerald
Now,
Farnham.
who are these people in these positions?
Well, a few I know. Wendy Robeson, she works at the, she's the deputy at the bureau at the county building, motor vehicles. Then you have Pat Nodine. I'm not sure what she is.
Lederhouse is the coroner.
Ken Lederhouse,
He's a
the coroner.
Republican, right?
Gerald Farnham, he was an ex-legislator, and he now is on the staff at Jane Corwin's office. But you have Gerald Farnham, you have William McNall, who is the chairman of the Niagara County Legislature.
He's another Republican, right?
You have James Budd. Isn't he on the council in Gasport or somewhere? I'm not quite sure about that. Then you have Richard Shipley. You know him?
No.
Alan Brooks, Daniel Pluff, Elisa Kessler, Kevin McDonough. He's on many things in Lockport.
They're probably all Republicans. I would think.
Donald Jablonski, isn't he the Republican
he's
chair
the
in the town of Lockport?
Yeah, he's a county executive chairman, executive Republican chairman, who's also on the zoning board of the town of Lockport, and he's the chairman for the town of Lockport Republican committee. Actually, he's very interesting because I was eating lunch from 2-3 years ago, and he was meeting with a coworker, and he actually told his coworker that we got to get more people politically involved so we can make more money. Later that day was the Republican committee meeting. I motioned to remove him from the seat because he's using it to manipulate to make more money. And that, after he gave me a threat, don't mess with me.
Well, you
Mr.
know how it
McDonough.
is in the town of Lockport. I mean, I don't know how the citizens put up with it. I mean, they treat it like it's their own private club up there, but we'll get into that later. But anyways, then you have Patricia Daupher, isn't she a councilwoman?
She's
in
on the council,
in the town of
Republican in town of
Lockport.
Lockport, yeah.
You have Catherine Fogel, who was
She's a
on the city
Republican,
council in Lockport, who's not on now.
We actually had Kitty Fogel actually switching people's registrations from Green Party, Independent, Conservative, and putting these people onto committees.
Then you have Francine Gariano, and then you have Marie Updegraff, Vince Sandinato. Now he was an ex-legislator, and now he just passed the Bar Association, and I'm sure because of his expertise, they wanted him to work in the town of Wheatfield and also in the county DA's office. I'm sure because of his tremendous expertise, just having graduated. Then you have Matthew Parrish, David Wollaban, who is the deputy mayor in Lockport. And then you have Richard McIntyre, Scott Kurdowski, and you know what he is.
He's another Republican.
There you
he
go.
was the chairman of the
Then
Republican
Robert
committee.
Norris, Kenneth Jenowick, who was also on the city council of Lockport, and he's also on he's the office of the aging chairman. And then you have Michael Carey, who is on the board of elections. John Johnson, Mark Crocker.
Oh, Mark Crocker is a really important one. Let me hit on that one a little bit.
And then you got Ann Boozy, Tracy Farrell, and William Thompson. But go ahead. What about this?
So let me
Mark
talk about
Crocker.
Mark Crocker. I have just to show what they're doing to manipulate the parties. I have a petition here of Mark Crocker, Amy Crocker. I don't know if this is his daughter or his wife. So if you see this petition on the screen right there, you can actually see there's Mark's address, 5513 Forest Hill Road. So he put his wife or his daughter, whoever that is, on the committee, independent committee, so they can control who gets the endorsement. And if you scroll to the bottom of this petition, I bet he circulated it. There you go. There's Mark Crocker, because he's a commissioner of deeds in the city of Lockport. It says right there in the bottom of the petition.
Wow, this really opens your eyes. I mean, I wasn't even aware that all this was going on. And like I said, I know you've given presentations on this, but now you're beginning to see how friends and family, this is just going to go on forever. I mean, now you wonder why Niagara County is the third highest taxes in the United States. don't wonder any longer. I mean, these friends and family, if you take a look at who's on the public payrolls besides, you'll just get sick like I do and like most of the people do.
What I actually did is
Well,
people don't realize is that I circulated a petition to stop this abuse from happening. And we actually have affidavits of people that they stole identities from to put them on the committees to manipulate the endorsements. And we filed the complaint at the DA's office.
I heard about that, Dave, and we're going to get into that much more in a little bit.
And I'm going to point to you, and this
Okay.
is the real thing.
Okay,
Are you ready?
ready.
And then let Dave get in
I
there
will.
and say
I'm gonna
thank
let
you
him
for
get in
something.
Say thank you, and I'll give you a
Right.
kiss. And
No, you don't kiss me.
Okay. All right, here we go. 3, 2.
Dave, I'd like to thank you tonight for bringing all the knowledge that will certainly help many of our residents in Niagara County.
well, thanks for having me on your show, and thanks for working this out. Because without people like you that's been involved for years, I wouldn't even have learned what I have. My main motive is to find more people like you. They're out there.
Contact Dave. He'll help you through the petition process. And I hope our politicians hear this too. But Dave, again, I can't thank you. I've said before that your program needs to be taught in the schools because that's where it begins, educating people on how the process works. And it seems in Niagara County, as I opened my opening statement, the fix is in.